Okay, here I am on Weariall Hill, one of the most sacred places in Glastonbury, if not the entire country. The thorn, as we all know, sprung from the staff of Joseph of Arimathea, the uncle of Jesus Christ, who, legend, with some historical justification, has it, came here and planted his staff in the ground from which the thorn sprung, sadly now abbreviated by some thug who's sawn it off. This is a town that thrives on tourism. Without the tourists, most of the businesses in the high street, I'm sure we could agree, would probably not be able to function. The town, the beautiful countryside, the legends, and the historical and spiritual significance of this town are the drivers of its economy. Now let's go further up the hill and see whether or not enough sensitivity has been expressed for the reality of this town's fortunes. Good. Okay, here we are at the highest point of Weariall Hill, and we can see from here that my optimistic notion of the views from this sacred place being respected has not really been realised. I want to make it clear that I'm not against industry and commerce. I'm not one of these townies that's come here belatedly and wants to see the place set in aspic. I recognise that people need jobs and they need homes. But when you construct industrial and commercial premises, like many of these, you can do it sensitively. You can screen them. And the easiest and most natural and cheap way of doing that is to screen them with trees. If you look at the big shed here, B&Q, there are some giant trees there which have obviously taken a long time to grow. And they're doing a fair job of screening that shed there. We just need more of them. And what I would suggest is that we plant very fast growing ones, even the dreaded leylandi, which are only bad when they're in the wrong place in somebody's garden. Here, perfect for the job. Other tall trees, whatever. It doesn't need that many trees for these big sheds to just blend sympathetically into the landscape. All it needs is the will to do it. It wouldn't even be particularly expensive. If you were buying, say, 100 trees, it probably wouldn't cost more than £10 or £20 each to buy them. I'll even advance I'll put my own money into it for the first 10 trees, shall we say. If you look at the surrounding buildings, some of the older buildings, or some of the newer ones down here, which are brick built with tiles, take for example the red brick building, they're okay because the building materials are far more sympathetic to the landscape. They sit comfortably in it. The big sheds over here don't. If you're a pilgrim who's come here for peace and tranquility, and you want to see the place where Joseph of Arimathea climbed, because his boat could quite feasibly have tied up not far from this spot when all of the levels were flooded. A shallow-bottom trading craft of that day could have got very close to this spot. So the speculation is not entirely unrealistic. And the important thing, as far as Glastonbury is concerned, is that many people believe it. What must they think, people from all over the world coming here, expecting probably this whole place, this whole town and its environs, to be a World Heritage Site, to climb up here, look down, and see a big, at night, illuminated Tesco sign? I'm sure thousands of them must think, I just don't believe it. Probably if Victor Meldrew came up here, he'd have a phrase entirely appropriate to the situation. Now, I've only lived here for just over 3 years, and shortly after I arrived, I made a presentation to the town council about this very subject. Everybody on that council smiled, nodded, agreed with me. Nobody said there was anything wrong with this idea. Nobody suggested that it was unrealistic, impractical, too expensive. There were no reservations expressed. Here we are, 3 years on, not a single tree has been planted. Well, that's the past. We now have a green-dominated council. But it shouldn't matter what political persuasion the council is, if people are interested not only in the cultural quality and health of this environment, but also the commercial success of the town, then sensitivities like the aesthetics of this view should be taken very seriously. My question is, why aren't they?